Okay, welcome back. Now what we need to do is create a floor lamp here for our scene. Let me show you what we're going to do. Here's a reference image I found on the internet of basically a floor lamp, which is this tall one here that goes on the floor, hence the name. And then we have a set of table lamps over here that are of the same style, basically the same set, only these little table lamps are designed, as the name suggests, for a small table or something like that. Okay, so let's go ahead and start off by creating this big one right here, and let's get that done. Okay, what I can do is, because the image is very user-friendly in terms of being from a front view, I can go ahead and use it for the front over here of my 3ds Max viewport. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go load it up. Match the bitmap and lock the zoom and pan as always. Okay, and there we go. Now what I'm going to do is come over here and create myself a cylinder. Initial size really doesn't matter. Just go ahead and draw it out. And I'm going to take the sides here and I'm going to knock the sides down to about, I think, 8 will probably be pretty good. We don't need too many since it's going to be a sub D anyway. Okay. Now let me go over here to the front view. Get out of wireframe mode so I can actually see this thing. Then I'm going to take the radius here, make it skinny just like in the image there, and I'm going to bring it down to about right here. Again, we have some perspective distortion in the photograph because it's a real life picture, so we have to kind of compensate for that and keep that in mind. Okay. So something like this is pretty good. Not going to be too picky with it. In terms of the height, yeah, let's take the height up to about right here. You can see that when I zoom in here, right about this area here, the image is a bit blurry because it's very low res. There's this kind of piece right here, this bulge. So I'm going to take this top part up to the bottom of that part where it starts right there. Okay. So I'm going to say I'm happy with that. I'm going to convert this thing to an editable poly. Then I'm going to take all the edges right here, this entire ring of edges, and I'm going to connect that one time. Hit OK. I'm going to move that connection down to about right here. Okay. Now I'm going to go to the perspective view. I'm going to take all those polygons that I have right there. I'm going to use the extrude tools here. I'm going to go by local normal. I'm going to extrude it just a bit. Something like this looks pretty good. Okay, not too much. Now I know that I'm going to have to take these edges here and I'm going to have to select their loops and chamfer them in order to make them nice and sharp. Add a segment there. And let's turn on NURBS toggle, see what we've got. Okay, looking pretty good. I'm going to come over here, go to my subdivision surface and make it 2 iterations instead of 1. Okay, down here let's see what we're going to do. I'm going to take this bottom polygon that's right here and I'm probably just going to collapse that. Now I'm going to take the center vertex right there, hit Control and Backspace to get rid of it. Now I can just take this bottom polygon and play with this one. So I'm going to use the Inset tool very quickly. Now I'm going to scale this new polygon that I created outward. If I go over here to this view, you can see what I'm trying to scale it to. Basically just trying to get this thing to scale out like this. Something like that looks pretty good. Then I'm going to select the ring of edges right here in the middle. Connect this maybe a couple of times. And turn off NURBS toggle there for the moment. Select that edge loop. Scale this out like so. I'm going to take the other edge loop there. Scale that out. But I'm going to bring this one up a little bit like that. Turn on NURBS toggle. And let's actually go to the bottom here. Grab this bottom polygon. Select its edges. And chamfer those edges so you get yourself a nice sharp edge. Hit OK. I'm going to go back to the front view here. Alright, that doesn't look too bad. Let me try to adjust this a little bit more. Maybe take that top loop up there. Then I'm just going to come in here and take the loop that's in there. Select the edge loop there. I'm going to chamfer that to sharpen it up. That looks pretty good. I want to add maybe a little bit more detail here, so I'm going to select this ring and connect that thing maybe one time, hit OK. I'm going to take this loop of edges right here and move it down a little bit. I'm going to go back to this loop that's in here, okay, and I'm going to go ahead and maybe chamfer that and hit OK, just to put a nice little sharp edge right there. Looks kind of interesting. And if I want to add a little bit more detail, I can select maybe this edge loop right here, chamfer it one time, increase its size a little bit, not too much, hit OK. Maybe select those two little polygons there and get their loop, and then use the extrude tool and extrude inward into itself. Hit OK. Then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to select these two edges, grab their loop, chamfer that, hit OK there, Nerms toggle, and I end up with something like this. So it looks a little bit more detailed or whatnot. Okay, let's move back up to the top over here. I'm going to take this guy right here, and I'm going to go ahead, do an inset, and then I'm going to scale that inset outward. If I come over here to this view, you can see kind of what I have, and move this up a little bit more. Just undo there a couple of times. I scaled that out a little bit too big. I'm going to scale that out a little bit, and then I'm going to extrude it and pull it upward. I'm going to take it to about right here. Then I'm going to extrude that out just a bit. Then I come in here and start to chamfer some of this stuff. I'm going to select the edges there for that polygon. Extrude that. Hit apply. I have to come over here and do the same thing here. So I'm going to select these two edges, grab their loop all the way around. Hit OK. That's what we end up with. That's what I want. Okay, that's not too bad. I'm going to grab all those edges right there in the middle, and I'm going to connect that one time down the middle. Scale that out to give it a little bit of a bulge there, just like in the image. Now what I need to do is take the top polygon that's up here. I'm going to inset that a little bit. And then I'm probably just going to extrude that up. Select those two polygons. Let's grab their loop. I'm going to scale that in just a bit because it's a little bit too wide right now. So something like that. I'm going to go back to Nerms toggle, select that loop right there. I'm going to chamfer that. Hit OK. Going to come back up to the top, take the top polygon here, extrude that out a little bit. Just make this a little bit easier to see. I'll pull it out to about right there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take those two polygons right there, select their loop, use the extrude tool, extrude it by local normal, by the way. I'm going to hit OK. I'm going to grab this loop of edges right here and scale that down just a little bit like that. Maybe I'll take this ring right here. I'm going to connect that one time, slide it up a little bit. Just scale that out just a bit, something like that. Then I'm going to take all of these edge loops that we see right here. I'm going to select all the edge loops and chamfer that. Make that nice and sharp. A quick NURMS toggle, and that's what we have. Okay. Now up here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to extrude this out, bring it up to about right there, hit OK. And up here you can see we have this little black plastic piece. That's basically where the light bulb is going to go. So we're going to go ahead and make that look like it's a separate object or separate piece. So let me come over here and let me make my get my edge loops and chamfer this stuff the way it's supposed to be. Grab that polygon, select its edges there, chamfer that as well. Check the NURMS toggle, we're good to go. Okay. Now for this piece right here on the top, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold down Shift to make basically an element up here. Like that. I'm going to make sure it's an element. And I'm going to use the extrude options here to just pull this thing up. And the amount I want to pull it up to is about right here. And at this point I'm just going to scale this out a little bit. And scaling the whole thing right here. What I wanted to do is editor, edit that out of the video. Starting in 3, 2, 1. I'm going to use the scale tool, hold down Shift basically to make a new element out of this. Okay, something like that. Make a new element. I'm going to extrude it up. It's about right here. Okay. Then I'm going to scale this thing out just a bit like that. And then I'm going to extrude it again to about right here maybe. And then I'll probably just extrude it again. And then probably just extrude it again to about right there. Now I'm going to go to my NURMS toggle, turn it off, and I want to make all of these edges sharp. So I'm going to select all of these guys, this guy, and that's it. Select the edge loops, go ahead and chamfer that, hit OK, check the NURMS toggle, and we're good. Now I did mess up on the top right there, it didn't select the loop. So let me go back and try to do this again. Let me go ahead and chamfer that. Hit OK. Check the NURMS toggle. That's what's always going to be, checking the NURMS toggle. That way you can catch stuff like that when it's happening, as opposed to running across it later and regretting that you didn't check it. So I'll chamfer that top part up there. Same techniques we've been using so far. Then, if you notice in my reference image, I don't have much information about the inside of this thing. I do know, using logic, that there's probably a light bulb inside there somewhere. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use, standard human ingenuity, common sense. Basically take this guy here, and I'm going to inset him in a bit like this. And I'm going to extrude it down and in. Obviously you can see if I go too far what happens, so I'll bring this up a bit to about right there. Then I'm going to select that edge right there, grab its loop, chamfer that to sharpen it up, and I end up with something like this. Basically a little kind of area where the light bulb can sit in, which isn't physically accurate. I don't have a picture of that, but that's okay because that's never going to be visible. Again, as I've said before in previous volumes, and I'll keep stressing that until the end of the series, only model details that are necessary. Don't waste time modeling stuff that's not necessary. You don't want to get into that habit because that's going to slow you down when trying to meet deadlines and things like that. Okay, so let's create the little light bulb that goes on top. Let's see what we have so far. It looks fairly detailed, looks pretty good, very similar to the image. Okay, now to create the actual light bulb itself, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to use a sphere. I'm going to turn on auto grid and just draw this thing on here. Okay, then I'm going to move this thing up. Now I want to align it with the pole, so to do that I'll use the align tool, select the pole. I'm going to select center and center, and I'm going to tell it not to adjust in the Z position, just the X and Y, hit OK. Okay, so this is what we have. Now it's a little bit too high res at the moment, shouldn't be that high res, so let's reduce the segments down to maybe something like, I don't know, 19 looks pretty decent. Okay, and I'm going to convert this thing to an editable poly. If we turn on NURBS toggle, you can see it's still fairly round. I'm going to go ahead and take all the bottom polygons down here. Make sure you have the correct one selected. And I'm basically going to go down to extrude. Extrude it by group. And that doesn't look too right, does it? So let me actually undo a couple of times here. And maybe what I'll do is I'll give this thing about 21 segments. Convert this thing back to an editable poly. And if you don't want to be coming back and forth, what you can do is you can go to modifiers, go to mesh editing, drop an edit poly modifier on it, just so you keep that stuff separate. Just so you keep that stuff separate, and just makes it easier in case you make any mistakes like that. So I'm going to select all of these polygons. You can see I missed a few. Okay. Can extrude that stuff down. Turn on NURBS toggle here, which you can see that I can't just go here to my quad menu and select NURBS toggle. I'll fix that in a moment. Pull that down to about right there. Hit OK. With the edit poly modifier, we just don't really have the ability here to just come in here and turn on the NURBS toggle the way that we did before. So what we're just going to do is we're going to go ahead and collapse the modifier stack here. Then I'm going to go to NURBS toggle. So I end up something like that. Now the bulb looks kind of big there. So let me go ahead and scale those bottom polygons down a bit. And maybe I'll take all of the vertices that are right here and scale those down a bit too. Bring that stuff down to make it look something more like this. Take those bottom polygons, scale them down a bit as well. So something like that. So now it looks more like a light bulb, okay? Alright, so I'm done for the moment. I'm going to end this video here. It's been running for a good while. In the next video, we're going to go ahead and see if we can finish this thing off.